What's up, everybody? Welcome to Human Innovation Tarot. My name is Eddie with Imagine Life Development Center. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing some information about understanding what I call the foreshadow effect. And basically, the foreshadow effect is essentially things that have happened to us or things that are, happening now or in the past. And of course, as we go along our journey in life will continue to happen that we're kind of unaware of in the moment. So, things that have happened in the past, that will maybe, you weren't aware of that 5 years into the future or 10 years into the future of that point, all of a sudden you start to realize, oh my gosh, like something in my past confirmed that this thing would be occurring here in the future, or something in your past was sort of like a synchronicity. It's a type of synchronicity that basically is showing you the importance of something that will be occurring for you in the future. And so this is always happening. And, of course, while it's happening in the present moment, we're typically unaware of it, right? It's not until later on at some point down in the future, whether it's 24 hours, a month, or 10 years, it doesn't matter. But when we get to that point in the future, somehow or another, that synchronicity, that thing that happened to us in the past will make a lot of sense as we move forward. And this just shows us that everything does happen for a reason. And it also shows it gives us some empowering feedback about the life that we've been living. So if we ever find ourselves stuck in life or confused about where we should go, what we should be doing, what to expect in life, or, what direction has life been trying to guide us and lead us, well, a lot of those secrets, a lot of those answers can be found in the past. They're clues, right? And so sometimes as we look back in our past with our spiritual lens on, we can start to see and make sense of things that didn't really make a whole lot of sense back then, or maybe they didn't make sense, in the last 5 years of your life, or the last 10 years of your life, or however long it's been, right? But as you begin to become more spiritually awakened and more spiritually aware, they will make complete sense to you. You'll start connecting a lot of dots. You'll start realizing a lot of things. And this is more confirmation and feedback for you to understand just how powerful you are in creating your reality, but also an understanding that, hey, the universe always had your back. So I hope that you enjoy this film, and I'll see you on the other side. I just didn't want to forget. Okay, so first off, you have leadership. So the situation that you're meant to learn about with your family situation here is teaching you about your own power, how to basically be the leader of your own life. And this is actually tying over here to this the children card here. So we have children here, and then the center card is celebration, by the way. So I know you can't really see. This is a deck that I made for myself. So, I chose a font. I mean, I can see it off camera. You guys obviously can't see it very well on camera, but whatever. Nobody else is ever going to see these cards because you can't buy this deck. Anyways, I just wanted to show you the cards really quick so you knew what they were. This card says leadership. This card says celebration. This card says children. So the situation that you're experiencing with your family is meant to empower you, to teach you about who you are, what your powers are, what your spiritual gifts and talents are. And it's related to this children card being out here on the table has two different meanings. On the one hand, you're meant to understand and learn. There's lessons here related to your childhood. So whatever relationship that you've had with your family since your childhood, whether you've had childhood wounds or childhood abuse, childhood drama, whatever it is, I don't know. You'll know what this is. But there are things that go all the way back to your childhood that have followed you throughout your life, the history of your life, up to this point of where you are now, that are tied to you becoming this leader, right? So, in other words, the universe is wanting you to start making connections to the two. So the universe is saying, hey, do you see now? Do you see where these things that happened into your childhood? I call it the foreshadow effect. So let me explain this really quick. So the foreshadow effect is always happening. It's a type of synchronicity. There's multiple synchronicities that we have in life. this is one of a multitude of or types of synchronicities that we experience. It's called the foreshadow effect. And so what the foreshadow effect is we are always experiencing something where we are right now that is an indicator of something that will be relevant in our future. Most of the time, we're not aware of what that thing is in our present moment. So for me, there are things that are occurring in my life right now that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, when I look back, I'm going to go, holy shit. That thing back in 2024 was a foreshadow of something that got me to here where I am now. So when you start looking back and over the course of your life, you'll notice this foreshadow effect. You'll start to notice, oh my God, this thing that was happening when I was this old was foreshadowing this thing that happened when I was that old. And then when I got to there was this thing that happened that was foreshadowing this thing. And this thing was foreshadowing something that was going to happen this many years forward. And you'll start to see a pattern of foreshadows that were occurring in your life. And the reason that we experience these foreshadows is to give you faith and confidence that, again, the universe has always been with you. The universe has always had your back. And that that failure isn't real. Failure is an illusion. There's no such thing as failure, right? Actually, I have a pen. I'm going to show you something really quick. I just got to grab a pen to show you all how this works. Because when I got this revelation for myself, it just made more sense with the visual aid. I just had to grab a pen and a piece of paper. Okay. So here's the cycles of life. If my pen will work. God damn it. All right. So here's the cycle of life. Life is what we call a set of fractals. So as we all know, life is never always good and life is never always bad. There are mountaintops and there are valleys, right? And that's what we're seeing here. So up here we have the mountaintop, and down here we have the valleys. So right there on the screen, the M up here is the mountaintops. Those are the highs in life. Well, we never stay up here at the mountain. Life eventually follows this trajectory, and we go down inevitably into a valley time of life, right? But we don't stay in the valley forever. Eventually, we move back up over here to the next mountaintop up here. And then eventually, we're going to go through a hardship. We'll go back down to a valley. And then we eventually would go back up here to a mountaintop, and that's the cycles of life, right? And so this is how failure is an illusion. So we assume as humans, that when things are good, we're doing great. We're successful, we're abundant, blah, 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 right? So up here at the mountaintop, I put an X up here next to it. Here we are, up here at the mountaintop with the X. We think life is good. And then when we end up on the backside, or the downside, we're going down into the valley. So we've kind of gone this way. We've been up at this mountaintop. We came down through this valley. We're up here at this mountaintop. We came down into this valley. We went up to the second mountaintop. And here we are, right here. I'm going to put an X here. Here we are. Our life is starting to fall apart. Shit is hitting the fan. We were on the mountaintop, and now things are starting to go downhill, right? Well, it would be easy for us to assume that, well, up here on this mountaintop back here, we had it all together. Life was great. I was successful. I wasn't a failure. I was good enough. A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Right? But here's the real truth. This is the illusion. This mountaintop is the illusion. Just like going into the valley, and the concept of failure is also illusion. Here's the reality. You are further along here when things are going downhill for you. You're further along in your evolution here when things are not working out for you than you were here. This version of you at a downside or at your worst. So let's go there. So I'm going to put a really big X here. So here, I'll put a really big X. Here you are. You've hit rock bottom. You are a shell of yourself. You've completely collapsed. You're making terrible decisions. You're getting terrible outcomes in life. Your whole life is a shit show. You've hit rock bottom here. Nothing in your life is going good. Nothing. And you're looking back in your past and you're going, yeah, once upon a time I used to be this and that. I was successful. I was good enough. You know, I had my shit together. I was a good person. Life was really great. All the way back here. And now you're judging yourself for being at the bottom, hitting rock bottom. Nothing's going good. When the truth is, you're further along here. You're further along here in your evolution and advancement than you ever were back here. This version of you at your worst is still way better than this version of you at your best. Because this version of you at this mountaintop way back here was based on your limited knowledge and experience as this version of you. This was a much younger, outdated version of you. Sure, that might have been the best, the pinnacle of that moment, the pinnacle of that person and that experience. But here, you're 100 times more evolved, even though the experience that you're having in that moment isn't ideal. Just like when you come up here and you get to the new mountaintop, you'll be further along at this mountaintop than you were down here at this valley, and on and on and on and on and on it goes. So why am I showing you all this this analogy? The reason I'm sharing this analogy with you guys is because we fall into this whole illusion of failure. When life starts to go, when life doesn't look the way that we expect it to, we start to project meaning onto that experience, and we create a narrative and a story that we reflect back onto ourselves. In other words, we start to take responsibility necessarily for things that we're not responsible for, or we don't take enough responsibility for things that we are responsible for. And so we get lost. We don't see the forest through the trees because we're misinterpreting and misdiagnosing what it is that we're meant to learn, which brings us all back here to Rhoda's question, which is there's no such thing as failure if you understand this concept of this foreshadow effect, because when you look back over your life, here are all the foreshadows. All these things that were happening for you throughout, like if I put a bunch of little dashes like this, I'm just going to put a bunch of dashes. I'm going to go over here and put a bunch of dashes. I'm going to go over here and put a bunch of dashes. All right. So if all of these dashes that I just drew on this represent synchronicities, signs, events, foreshadows, well, let's say that this little dash right up here is a foreshadow to an event that you have here. Or what if this dash is a foreshadow to an event that you have way down here? Right? That's the purpose of the foreshadow effect. The foreshadow effect is for you to look back at what happened back here to remind you of what all you've been through to get to here, so you understand you have a measurement of your spiritual evolution. Because if you lose sight of your spiritual evolution, you'll fall into the illusion that you've not spiritually evolved. You haven't grown. You haven't adapted. Or it prevents us from reaching in and extracting the spiritual nuggets from the experiences that are meant to empower us so that we can live the life that we were meant to have, the life that would empower us to give us our fulfillment. Hence the beautiful, wonderful question that Rhoda asked. So how does that teaching apply to us collectively, but also to you personally for Rhoda? So in your life, this leadership element was being foreshadowed to you through an experience that you had as a child. And so that was a really long explanation to basically say that you're being taught leadership. You're being taught to awaken the spiritual leader within. And this goes all the way back to things that were foreshadowed in your childhood. So if you start to review your life and going back and going back and going back and looking for the foreshadows, those things will be the confirmations of what has brought you here. They'll be the confirmations you need to know who and what type of leader you were meant to be. And all this has been playing out through your family, right? Which is why we've landed here at the celebration. Now, why is the celebration card here? Well, the celebration card is a play on words or a metaphor for essentially gratitude. So you're being taught how to learn and appreciate things through the concept of through contrast. Most people don't understand the spiritual concept of what contrast really is. They just know that, they know what the definition of the word contrast means, but they don't understand how it fleshes itself out in a spiritual way in our life. So, like the only reason that we know something tastes good is because we know that there's something that tastes bad. The only reason that we understand that there's pain is because we've experienced something the only reason that we experience pleasure is because we've experienced something that's painful, right? And so while we've all experienced that reality, we're not consciously aware of it. We can't look at our life and go, what is contrast teaching me? Because we learn more through contrast than we do through the opposite of. In other words, we learn more through pain than we do through pleasure. But ironically, the paradox is we avoid pain more than we seek pleasure. We will do more as human beings. This is a psychological fact. We will do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. But on a spiritual level, the lessons that we're meant to learn and the content of our most powerful growth is always in the pain, not in the pleasure. So when you lean into the things that are painful, when you go searching for the treasure in the pile of shit, as I like to call it, you're doing the more spiritual thing. But that's not what most people are wired for. Most people will do more to run away from pain. Or they have a traumatic experience and they don't want to sit in that experience to extract the treasure from the pile of shit because it's too painful. But unfortunately, and again, I'm not the one who made this up. I've just learned it through my own life. The gold, the treasure is always in the pile of shit. It's always in the pain. It's always in the fear. It's always, there's a saying for it. Joseph Campbell, the treasure you seek is in the cave you fear to enter. So the celebration card here is another way of saying that. The treasure you seek is in the cave you fear to enter. Well, what is it that you're seeking? This contrast, this pain, the hurdles, obstacles, and struggles that you've experienced through your family have been the purpose of them have been to teach you gratitude and appreciation for the lessons that the painful experiences contain so that you can learn to stand in your power and become the leader of your own life. And when you become the leader of your own life, you've stepped into a role of leadership because now you can inspire others to do the same thing that you've done, which will help you to set other people free from the same types of disempowering situations they've experienced in their childhood. But this is also referring to, and I don't know, because I don't know you, but if you have a passion for children or you work with children or anything having to do with children, or you're a mother or whatever that looks like for you, the other side of this card or the other side of this energy talks about your ability to now take all the lessons that you've learned and be the leader and teacher for the next generation so that this generation doesn't have to learn and go through the same shit that you went through to learn the same things. That's the beauty of being a leader. That's me being able to come out here and share with the world, hey, I went through this. This is what I've learned. This is what I, in teaching people what to do so that they don't have to go through that experience and learn the hard way themselves. I'm saving them the hassle and the time and the energy from having to learn things that they don't have to learn by going through it themselves. They can just learn through me and the things that I've done, right? So at the core and the essence of your reading, that's really what the situation is about. Now, on a more intrinsic or detailed level, I've got these cards, and these cards are actually freaking they're accurate as hell, but they're also like the messages on these with these cards are super empowering. And I am going to have to read the brief descriptions for you because I don't have these cards memorized. The artwork is atrocious. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of the artwork. And the words that are on the cards, the description on the cards are very bizarre. So, but the meanings behind the cards themselves are amazing. Anything else? All right, that's too many. So I'll take the two that were up, they're face up. And I'll put these two back in. Okay, so in addition to everything that I've said, the spiritual lesson that you were meant to learn as a result of this. All right, so this first card, I mean, there's nothing really to show here other than the atrocious artwork. Like, I think a bunch of people just got really high on mushrooms and then just started painting shit. But this one's called Let Your Dreams Be Woven True. And this card is all about the essential meaning is the card of the Dream Weavers is co-creation, partnership with the divine powers, trusting your dreams will be an alignment. If the fox can't find being compromised of any of the things that have happened to you, that's what most people do. Such and such hurt me. They betrayed me. Well, just like I mentioned, my ex-wife left me for my best friend. If that's all that I took away from it, if that's the only thing that I take away from all of my losses, my pains, my betrayals, all the bad shit that's ever happened to me, if all I take away is, well, that sucked, that hurt, and I need to protect myself, I can't trust people, people suck, people can't be trusted, love hurts you, ABC, XYZ. If that's the only meaning that I take away from it, I'm screwed. I haven't learned shit. But that's what most people do. Most people, they just see the bad, they take the bad, they inherit the bad, and they identify with the bad. They don't look for the empowering meaning in everything, right? So they can't extract and find their power because those things are there as lessons, and lessons are another type of synchronicity, which I can't, I'll go into a whole other sermon if I talk about that. So this next card is called All the Shoes Fell from the Sky. And so the meaning of this card is waiting for the other shoe to drop, expectation of failure as a means of self-sabotage, fear of success, and not trusting good fortune. You can't make this shit up. It's literally everything that I just said. This card literally was everything that I literally just said. Most people, they have a bad experience, and then they just continue to expect bad experiences. It's like, well, someone, this person cheated on me, the next person cheated on me, the next person cheated on me, so everybody's a cheater now, right? And it's like, no, the reason you keep getting cheaters is because you refuse to go into that experience to figure out what the cheating experience is teaching you. And until you figure out why you keep attracting cheaters into your life, you're going to keep getting cheaters. That's just how it is, right? And so this card is basically saying to change your perception, change your paradigm, change the way that you look at life so that from now on, moving forward, you can extract the treasure from the pile of shit. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. All the other information is in the description box below. And as always, my friends,
I'm not a bloody psychic.